So 1917 is a massive film. Just watching it, people are thinking, this is a technical achievement. Whose idea was it to use the one shot, one take kind of technique? And were you excited for the challenge or kind of nervous for the undertaking?
Very excited for the challenge. I've always wanted to do something that had this kind of simple shape. And the answer to your first question is it was very much part of my idea from the very beginning to tell a story in 2 hours of real time and to do it in one shot. That was all the same idea. Once I'd had this notion to tell a story about a man or two men carrying a message at the height of World War I, it felt like the best way to tell the story. It was the way to lock the audience together with the central characters, to make them begin to understand that they couldn't escape, that they had to watch every second ticking down in this journey, this race against time. They had to feel the physical difficulty of the journey and sense how far was being traveled. And know, either consciously or unconsciously, that we weren't going to jump in a cut, distances and time. So, yeah, it seemed integral to the way we were going to tell the story. And the challenge was mostly thrilling and at other times incredibly frustrating because, you would, in layman's terms, you would do let's say a 7-minute take. You'd have 6 minutes of magic and you'd be like, yes, yes. And then the camera operator would trip or, a prop would break or someone would forget a line and you couldn't use any of the 6 minutes. You had to start again. And on those days, you did think, I certainly thought, why have I done this to myself? But then when you got it and the take worked, it was so exhilarating, you just wanted to do it again.
So you mentioned cutting and time. I was going to ask what the main differences are between shooting a more traditionally shot film and one of this nature. Would you say it's time and jumping?
Well, it's normally, as a filmmaker, you don't have to determine rhythm and pace and tempo of a movie until you're in the cutting room. And you can chop scenes out, you can chop lines out, you can move scenes. It's actually really creative and very exciting to be in the editing room. But I didn't have any of that. There was no get out of jail card on this one. Everything had to be right in exactly the right tempo. Every step of the journey had to be accounted for. You had to build sets the exact length of the journey. And when I say sets, really it's a landscape. It's not just trenches and quarries and no man's land. It's farmhouses and roads and orchards and woods and burning towns at night. All had to be measured the exact distance of the scene. So in that respect, it was unlike any other film I've ever made because we had to make those decisions that you normally make in the cutting room on the day. Right. And that's the big difference.
Okay. Tell me about the casting process. How did you land on George and Dean, and had you seen their work previously?
I'd seen George. I'd never met Dean before, never seen him.
Okay.
He came in. They both auditioned. They were wonderful. And they did that thing that you hope with actors where they're everything that you'd imagined, or in this case, everything I'd written, plus something else, and there's something soulful about George, very still, internal, quite old-fashioned in a way, dignified, and that's what I wanted for Schofield. And then with Dean, Blake is much chattier and more vulnerable, younger, less experienced in war, warm, and really a boy, very, very, very young. And that combination of the two is what I wanted, a kind of unlikely friendship that happens in war between two men who probably in civilian life wouldn't meet.
Right. So tell me about working with Roger Deakins. I think the last film was Skyfall that you worked with him on?
That's right, yeah.
So you've worked with him numerous times, so why do you keep coming back with him?
Well, he's the best cinematographer in the world.
He's a legend, yeah.
He was like, well, if you can't... Someone said to me the other day, so other than winning Roger Deakins his second Academy Award, why did you do this movie? And I was like, nothing would give me greater pleasure. But he's a master, and he's also a friend now, and a man of great skill and poetry combined. And I think his way of expressing himself is through image. He's a great collaborator as well, very gentle. We have a shorthand now, and but we also knew each other's tastes, and that's what we needed because it was like inventing a slightly new language, because it's not what you might expect if you were imagining it, that you were just trotting along behind them the whole time. The relationship between the camera and the characters is constantly changing. Sometimes are quite far away from them, sometimes very close, sometimes intimate, sometimes epic. Sometimes you want to sense distance and land and geography. Other times you want to not see any further than they can see at all. You want to stay almost always in the present tense. And that dance of camera and character and landscape is constantly evolving, and that's what we had to create. It's like a language.
Right.
That was the language of our movie.
Okay. So I know you're busy, but do you have a favorite film that you've seen this year?
Parasite.
Same.
I thought Parasite was a masterpiece. I haven't seen all the films, I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
But I will. But I thought that was just spectacular.
Agreed. Well, Sam, it's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks
so
very
much.
much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.